There is nothing wrong with putting pineapple on pizza. There's nothing wrong with putting A1 on a steak or for that steak to be well done. There's nothing wrong with putting ketchup on hot dogs, mayo on fries, or ice cubes in wine. There's really nothing wrong with any of it. So one weekend, my brother and I come home from playing basketball and we're hungry as all get out. My folks had just been to the grocery store, so our fridge was stocked, but neither of them were around. So we decided to take a crack at making lunch for ourselves. We take out the bread, the turkey, the cheese, the mayo, and set out to make a couple sandwiches. We finished making them and we're standing there, in awe of the masterpieces we just crafted with our own two hands, when our father walked in with a look of horror on his face. "What have you done?" Before we could even take a bite, he took our sandwiches away and proceeded to show us the wisdom of sandwich engineering. See, we had used an entire pound of turkey to make 2 sandwiches, just slapping it on the bread until it reached the height of what we thought a sandwich was supposed to look like. But my dad showed us how to layer the meat, folding the pieces over themselves, shingling them so you're not just biting into an inch-thick brick of meat, but enjoying a sandwich, a real sandwich. There was much more to the art form and many more lessons, and it's something I've carried with me: the importance of sandwich construction. To this day, in my home, there is only one person who makes sandwiches because there is only one person who is certain that it will be done properly. Philadelphia is a very blue-collar town with a lot of folks just trying to make the most of whatever they have. When it comes to food, it is known the world over for the cheesesteak. Many people there have their spots, but most importantly, everybody has their own way. Even among locals, some will insist that Cheese Whiz is for tourists and provolone is king, while others, like me, just prefer it with whiz. Outside of Philadelphia, there are no cheesesteaks. I don't mean that in some snobbish way. I mean, wherever I have seen the promise of steak and cheese on a hoagie roll, it is called a Philly cheesesteak. The Philly cheesesteak refers to a sandwich that contains steak, cheese, peppers, and onions. Why peppers? I'm not exactly sure. My guess would be that at a lot of cheesesteak spots, there's like a condiment area and there's always a jar of pickled Italian peppers. And the point is, when people think of Philadelphia and food, this is what they think of. And it's all wrong. It's about as wrong as it can be, too, because the real secret to a truly great cheesesteak isn't the steak or the cheese or the onions or the fictitious peppers, but the great Italian roll that the sandwich is served on. That's why, as someone from the area, if I could choose what Philadelphia is known for, it wouldn't be the correct cheesesteak or the cheesesteak at all, but the bread. The bread, which is used as the cornerstone of many iconic sandwiches you can find all over Philly. But we don't get to choose what we're known for, do we? I've lived in 5 states and spent time in more than 20. I've seen Philly cheesesteaks, Philly cheesesteak egg rolls, Philly cheesesteak omelets, Philly cheesesteak fries, and you know what? That's all okay. It's okay because that's how food travels the world. Something starts somewhere. Once enough people enjoy it, it hits the ground running, and the conversations begin. Someone makes it different somewhere else, and something different, and so on and so on. No matter where you're from and what foods you hold dear, people everywhere else are making it differently. If you have a problem with that, then you essentially have a problem with food and culture in general. Not only that, but you're probably already making something yourself that someone somewhere might consider to be an abomination. So I'm a little older, and my dad would take me to this Italian place where we'd watch sports. We would order this dish that was like spaghetti with chicken and shrimp and a really spicy tomato sauce. To this day, I've never seen it served anywhere. One night, however, they have a special, chicken Alfredo. I'd never heard of it before, but the waiter and my dad were both like, yeah, you're gonna like it. The waiter brings it over, and hand to God, that first bite was like the scene from the end of Ratatouille. It was super garlicky, pungent from the Parmesan and Pecorino, and I think at some point I transcended my mortal coil and entered into some new realm of consciousness. I devoured it, and then proceeded to sop up the sauce with the bread, and then with my fingers when there was no more bread. The next time we went there, my dad and the waiter had to carefully explain to me what a dinner special is, and why they couldn't just make it for me again. I have been chasing that dragon ever since. Pasta Alfredo is a westernized version of pasta al burro, and this guy doesn't think it should even exist. He thinks things like cream or garlic don't belong in it, and he would prefer you only make the original, authentic version the way Italians do. Of course, being Italian, he has no problem using tomatoes, which aren't indigenous to Italy at all, so his own ancestors would probably look down at him with the same confusion and disdain that he has for others, but forget all that. His version of authentic Italian cuisine is all that matters. Let's talk about the most inauthentic fake thing imaginable. Do you think Taco Bell is fake Mexican? Well, see, it turns out that Taco Bell grew from one guy visiting a Tex-Mex restaurant owned and operated by a family of Mexican immigrants. The seasoned ground beef, orange cheese, and crunchy taco shells all come from that, and aren't usually found in Mexican cuisine. See, if you hold the most authentic and inauthentic foods up to the light of history, what's authentic becomes inauthentic. What's inauthentic becomes authentic. Everything else fades away, with the only constant being an endless conversation of cultures and peoples and foods, the transformations spiraling endlessly into our stomachs. Now look, I'm guilty of this as well. I went to Chicago, I had deep dish pizza, and when I got back I regurgitated, "It's not real pizza," ripped straight from that Jon Stewart bit. But if you're a New Yorker and you genuinely believe that, let me hit you with a line from one of the great New York films and one of the truest phrases ever spoken in a movie. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your stupid pizza. If Chicago pizza isn't real, then neither is yours. Don't believe me? Take your pizza to Napoli and see what they think of it. They'll tell you yours isn't real either. So you can either accept that different people do different things, or realize that there's no such thing as a real McCoy. About twice a year or so, my wife develops a hankering for the following dish: egg noodles, beef, mushrooms, peppers, onions, and a beef gravy sauce. Sort of like a stroganoff, but without the sour cream. According to her, she craves this dish because her grandmother made it, and when she was a kid. What's funny is that, also according to her, her grandmother was a terrible cook. So the craving isn't so much for the food itself, but for the connection to her past, her family, something that transcends sustenance. Ever hear someone say, "No one makes this like my insert relative"? Well, it's not true. You've had meals. Very important meals during very important years with people that are very important to you. Your grandmother, your mother, your aunt, uncle, or father, they weren't world-class cooks. They just made you something that seemed special because they love you. And the older you got, the more detached you became from that moment. So all the harder you try to grasp for it in the darkness. I believe that food has vital importance to us as individuals, but it's kind of meaningless once you get away from that. No one is going to see any food the same way as you because no one has had your experiences. And expecting people to means you're being unreasonable, not everybody else. That experience I had with Alfredo as a child only happened because some Italian immigrant or someone who came from Italy thought pasta al burro could use some garlic, and at some point someone added chicken. Heck, macaroni and cheese had a similar start, but took a detour in France and a change of cheeses before coming to America by way of, Thomas Jefferson. So, it's been hard, but I've tried to get away from judging anyone for eating anything, and it's pretty refreshing. It's their experience, not mine. You never know where that conversation started, and more importantly, where it's going next. So take a breath. Let people enjoy their pineapple on pizza, their steak with A1, their fries with mayonnaise. Hang on a second. Quick sidebar. There's that line in Pulp Fiction where they remark about how disgusting it is to put mayonnaise on French fries. But since that movie came out, aiolis became incredibly popular. Hell, Red Robin has them. So mayonnaise on fries was disgusting, but if you add garlic to it and call it an aioli, that's fine. Also, if you add some other ingredients, you get fry sauce? What the hell? Look, when it comes to food, nothing is authentic and there are no rules. It's all just a conversation involving billions of people and thousands of years. So focus on what's important to you, cherish the food memories you have, and for you and those around you. Okay, now I'm going to be a massive hypocrite. In 2020, a disease ravaged the United States. but little did we know that we had already been overtaken, conquered, and subjugated by the gastropub. Go on Yelp, wherever you are, it doesn't matter, and search for the most popular restaurants in your area. Gastropub, American, new, are guaranteed to occupy multiple spots. Take a look at the photos. Microbrews, beer flights, every square inch of the restaurant covered in wood like a varnished Cracker Barrel. Want me to really blow your mind? Here's what you'll find on the menu. Appetizers, soft pretzels, beer cheese sauce, barbecue pork nachos, sandwiches, 3 to 4 burgers. One of them has pulled pork on it because they already made it for something else, so then they need to use it in something. A fried chicken sandwich with coleslaw that the coleslaw is made from some random unconventional ingredient. And there's a 40% chance the sandwich is Nashville style, and that number rises every day. 2 to 3 salads on the entree menu. There is a 6,000% chance of macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese, guys, it's good because it's like a giant version of what we had as kids. You know, for when we get tired of adulting. Go ahead, check my work. Am I wrong? These places are everywhere. They dominate the most popular restaurants wherever you are. Right now, there is a 60% chance you know someone that owns or is opening a microbrewery. Children born today will inherit at least 3 of them in their lifetime. Carbon copies of each other, devouring the culinary landscape with no end seemingly in sight. Or it's all just food and none of that matters. What do I know?